Patrick, it was so good in October to get together for the global symposium, and so even more exciting that we could do it again in November in the Asia Pacific Symposium at the Taipei Medical Center. I know you were there. Can you just talk about what those 2 days were like?
Yeah, it was wonderful to see our community get together in Taipei. I want to thank Jason, Sue, and the entire team at TMU for putting on a wonderful 2 days, really featuring a lot of the great progress and work that's being made across the Asia-Pacific region. We were able to have a full day tutorial where we had about 100 participants learning kind of the journey from data to evidence. And I want to thank the tutorial faculty, including Morning, Alex, Chan, Chunsu, and Cynthia for sharing their wisdom with the community. And then we had a really good full day symposium where a lot of the work across the Asia Pacific chapters in Korea, Japan, Australia, Singapore, Taiwan, and China was presented. I thought that Jason and the team, particularly Whitney, a shout out to Whitney and Alex for all of their coordination. They did a great job. And it was really exciting to see so much progress being made across our Asia Pacific chapters. It's also really exciting to hear that Nicole announced that OHDSI APAC 2023 will be held in July in Australia, right after MedInfo. So I look forward to another great community event.
You mentioned tutorial, and that got me thinking about the number of open source 10-minute tutorials that we had on community calls over the last month. A lot of great work that came out of the global symposium in October, and really they were reflective of just what a great month and year it's been for our open source community. Specifically on the tutorials, can you just talk about what stuck out about those to you?
Yeah, I mean, open source software development is a key tenet of what we're trying to do here in our open science community. And there was a lot of great demonstrations that took place at the global symposium, but some of them didn't necessarily get as much airtime as we had hoped because they really did represent substantial progress in our community. So it was great to use this month's community calls to share some of that information. So it was great when Frank DeValco was able to give a demonstration about Aries as a tool to do large-scale characterization of your CDM or your network of data sources you have access to. And then when Justin presented on automated comparator selection and showed a really cool app that is both a methodologic innovation, but also a community contribution that people can take advantage of right now. Anna Osterpolitz presented about Phoebe 2.0 and how we've now integrated that, what started as a methodologic research capability, integrating that into our Atlas platform. We also saw from Selvin Sobi the work that Montefiore is doing to enhance Atlas for their own research needs, which is a nice demonstration about how any organization can both take advantage of the open source tools that are available in the community, but then also contribute for themselves and hopefully contribute back to our community once those enhancements have been made. We saw from Anthony Senna, Strategist, which is really providing us kind of a new way of thinking about how we can build our Lego bricks together to enable an entire pipeline of analysis across all of our Hades packages. And then Lee Evans presented how he can use Broadsea 2.0. And what was particularly impressive there is Lee showed you how to go from zero to a fully operational OHDSI system in less than 8 minutes. Being able to stand up Atlas in an RStudio session with all of the Hades packages. It's really a remarkable achievement that Lee was able to show, and I hope that it provides everybody in our community the ability to take advantage of all the open source tools that our community has made available.
There has been a lot of development, and it was good to get this to get these demonstrations out there. But beyond that, just the open source community work group, the work that it's been doing since, it's one of our newest work groups. The conversations that they're having every other week in their calls, I know you've been part of them, really thinking about, how to make the open source community development better for moving forward. I know they had a couple of really interesting calls over the last month. Has to be exciting to you to kind of just see where it's moving.
Yeah, Paul Nagy and Adam Black have been doing a really spectacular job of leading our open source community work group, which is not only for developers. And part of the reason I wanted to talk about it today is because it's a really great opportunity for those that want to be part of a community that's trying to advance together. what Paul has done is he's trying to have our community learn from other open source communities that are out there. And so a few weeks ago, we had Aidan Colhane join us from Bioconductor to explain the best practices that they've been applying in their community. A few weeks ago, Lori Arp came to talk from the perspective of Lyrasis and providing us kind of a maturity model to think about where we are as a community and where we want to be. And then Lee Evans presented about our current Odyssey infrastructure and how our community is evolving, how we think about maturing our tools and making them available. And so it's a work group that I strongly encourage those in the community. You don't have to be a hardcore software developer to think about how to contribute to our software infrastructure in the community. And you can also learn a lot about how we can develop and mature as a community by taking some inspiration from some of these other open source communities that are out there.
You mentioned community contributions. I think that's a good segue to a recent forum post and a challenge you put forth, the OMOP CDM ERD challenge. You want to just discuss that a little bit?
Yeah, we've as a community, we rely heavily on the OMOP Common Data Model, and Claire Blackader, leading our CDM work group, has done a great job of trying to cultivate and supporting having firm documentation. But one thing we've actually been missing for a while is one canonical diagram that represents the entities and relationships of the OMOP Common Data Model. We have kind of a cartoon version of that just shows the tables, but a proper ERD picture is something that actually shows you the tables, the fields, the relationships, the data types. And while we've had multiple folks ask for it in our community, we actually don't have one canonical form that we use as our standard representation. And so I thought, what better way of creating one than actually create a community challenge where everybody is invited and encouraged to learn from each other and contribute their own ideas. And so for the next couple of weeks, we'll be maintaining this community challenge where we hope that folks will consider how they can make this contribution. You don't need to be a programmer or or have any advanced technical skills to be able to put together an entity relationship diagram. But what we're looking for is a compelling picture that really tells the full story of the OMOP Common Data Model, and something that we can use in all of our core documentation moving forward.
Yeah, no, we've already got a few great submissions from Roger, Vishnu, Maxim, and Fabricio. Deadline is Tuesday, December 13th. The winner will be announced on our final community call on December 20th. You can find it on the forums. We'll have a link right here inside this newsletter as well. That'll be fun. It's always great to have a community challenge. It typically brings out the best in people. We have a couple more calls still to go in December. I know. Following our first call, where we'll look at some of the publications that have come out of the community recently, we'll then take a look back. What Odyssey has done kind of in 2022, where we've come, and then the last call of the year, a fun holiday final call of 2022. So still a few things to take care of in what really has been a great year for Odyssey. Thanks, Patrick, and looking forward to what we're finding out in December.
Thanks, Greg. Science!